This is the Topkats connection. This upload about heavy metals being in many supermarket juices will be attached to the other numerous reports we've provided since the year 2015. So this report is an update for you about lead, copper, and other heavy metals being dangerously present in many USA's consumer products like popular brand juice drinks, baby foods, teething biscuits for babies, in various pastas, and many other foods. Not to forget high lead levels being present in many U.S. homes and apartments that were built before the year 1978. This threat exists because they may contain lead paint. Exposure to lead paints and dust or chips can cause serious health problems. So please research this topic thoroughly. Meanwhile, I'd like everyone to know and or remember that heavy metals in the water is very common throughout the USA. The Flint, Michigan water debacle of the year 2014 was just one of many over the years before Flint's infamous misfortune. For example, there was also a huge problem in Washington, D.C. that was much worse than Flint's back in the early years of the 2000s, like somewhere around 2003 or so. Other places include Jackson, Mississippi, Ithaca, New York, Newark, New Jersey, Atlantic City, New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, and just about all other areas of New Jersey. As a matter of fact, at least 253 schools were closed in New Jersey during 1 year alone, which was in 2017, as a result of high lead levels being found in hundreds of schools' water supply. You can also check our playlist that's been created to archive our coverage of this enormous topic and gigantic problem that should be in the mainstream media's reporters' mouths in heavy rotation until the problem is alleviated. But of course, for whatever silly scapegoat the mainstream media gives as a reason for them not heavily reporting on this issue, meanwhile, this toxic, threatening problem still exists. And in consideration of all the power that the mainstream corporate media collectively has, they are doing very little to help warn and educate the USA's public about this hidden, treacherous problem. Although, ironically enough, controversy does sell quite well. And this topic is surely, if nothing else, controversial.
Topkats connection.
Some popular fruit juices may contain heavy metal contaminants. Consumer Reports tested 45 packaged fruit juices for heavy metals like lead, arsenic, and cadmium. It found measurable levels in every product. Long-term exposure to these metals could cause some serious health risks like kidney disease and certain types of cancer. More than 80% of parents with children 3 years old and younger give their kids fruit juices. Anna Werner looks at what parents should do. Anna, good morning.
Well, good morning. Heavy metals are substances that make their way into food because they occur naturally in the air, water, and soil. They can also wind up in food during the manufacturing and packaging processes. Now, Consumer Reports says improvements have been made since they last tested juice products 8 years ago, but they're still recommending that parents give their children less juice. As a mom, how do you think about fruit juice?
So
It's the bane of my existence.
Sure, can you use your fork?
Mom Stephanie Trilling says she tries hard to keep her 4-year-old daughter away from juice, mostly because of its sugar content.
I'll be at a birthday party and I'll see it on the table and I'll cringe a little inside because it's not something I want to give to my kids. But I also don't want to be that mom who's restricting everything.
But she may have another reason to restrict juice intake. A new analysis from Consumer Reports. James Dickerson is Chief Scientific Officer.
Consumer Reports wanted to investigate the state of the juice industry, particularly bottled juice.
His team tested 45 different juices for 4 heavy metal substances: inorganic arsenic, lead, cadmium, and mercury. They found that every single product contained a measurable amount of at least one heavy metal except for mercury. 21 of the samples contained one or a combination of heavy metals that reached a level Consumer Reports researchers deemed concerning for daily consumption. And Consumer Reports says the metals found in 7 of the 21 samples had the potential to harm children who drink only a half cup per day. The CDC says long-term exposure to heavy metals may put people at risk for kidney disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, damaged ability to learn, and certain types of cancer. Consumer Reports is recommending parents lower the amount of juice they give their kids. The Juice Products Association, whose board of directors includes executives from PepsiCo, Welch's, and other juice brands whose products were tested, said they haven't seen the full study, but called the results unfounded, and told us they're committed to providing safe and nutritious products that meet FDA standards. They also said there is no scientific evidence indicating that trace levels of heavy metals have caused any negative health outcomes. In 2013, the FDA proposed limiting inorganic arsenic in apple juice, but no change was ever made. The FDA had no comment. Consumer Reports says their findings are a spot check. They shouldn't be used to draw definitive conclusions about any specific brands. Now, we reached out to all the juice companies. 10 responded, saying their products are safe and follow all food safety guidelines.
Now, this very disturbing headline says, arsenic and lead are in your fruit juice. What you need to know. And this is from consumerreports.org. And this article was written by Jesse Hirsch. The date is January 30th, 2019. Now, although as of this report, that date is it's like 5.5 months ago as of this report, but the Topkats Pride channel often reflects on stories that go unreported but should be reported, and stories that should be rehashed, and stories that need more attention. So for us, 5.5 months is nothing compared to the size of this problem and the importance of this problem. Anyway, here it says CR finds concerning levels of heavy metals in almost half of tested juices. Fruit juice's health halo has slipped in recent years, mainly because it packs a lot of sugar and calories. But there's another, lesser known health risk with these juices. They may also contain arsenic, cadmium, and lead, according to a new test from Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports tested 45 popular fruit juices sold across the United States, including apple juice, grape, pear, and fruit blends, and found elevated levels of these elements, commonly known as heavy metals, in almost half of the samples, including juices marketed for children. In some cases, drinking just 4 ounces a day or half a cup is enough to raise concern. And this was from James Dickerson, Ph.D., Chief Scientific Officer at the Consumer Reports headquarters. Our test focused on cadmium, lead, mercury, and inorganic arsenic, the type most harmful to the health, because they pose some of the greatest risks, and prior research suggests that they are common in food and drink. The harmful effects of heavy metals are well documented, depending on how long children are exposed to these toxins and how much they are exposed to. They may be at risk for lowered IQs, behavioral problems such as attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, type 2 diabetes, and cancer, among other health issues. Though the risk of heavy metals from any one source may be low, when people are exposed to even small amounts from multiple sources, over time, the danger multiplies, and such exposure is common. Previous tests from CR, Consumer Reports, and others have found elevated levels of heavy metals not just in juices, but also in infant and toddler foods, rice and rice products, protein powder, some types of fish, and sweet potatoes. The toxins may also be in the environment, including the water, the air, and the soil. Heavy metals may be less risky to adults, but exposure can still lead on to health problems. Over many years, even modest amounts of heavy metals may raise the risk of bladder, lung, and skin cancer, cognitive and reproductive problems, and type 2 diabetes, among other conditions. And arsenic, cadmium, and lead each pose their own set of potential harms. Lead, for example, is associated with high blood pressure, heart disease, and fertility problems. Arsenic is linked to cardiovascular disease, and long-term cadmium exposure increases the risk of bone damage and kidney disease, among other issues. Still, Mr. Dickerson says, well, it's never too late to change dietary habits, even if you or your children have been drinking juices higher in heavy metals. What Consumer Reports test found is that in 2011, they found elevated levels of inorganic arsenic and lead in apple and grape juices. They say our most recent tests were conducted to see where the products have improved since then, since 2011. They also said they wanted to examine other types of juices and to test for additional heavy metals in those juices. The Consumer Reports current project looked at 45 juices in 4 flavors. 24 national, store, and private label brands were represented, and they purchased 3 samples of each product from retailers across the country. And among the findings are every product had measurable levels of at least one of these heavy metals: cadmium, inorganic arsenic, lead, or mercury. 47% of the 45 juices had concerning levels of cadmium, inorganic arsenic, and or lead. 7 of those 21 juices could harm children who drink 4 ounces, which is about half a cup or more a day. Just 4 ounces. And 9 of them pose risks to kids at 8 ounces, 1 cup or more a day. Meanwhile, 5 of the products with elevated levels are juice boxes or pouches ranging from 4 to 6.75 ounces. The Consumer Report says that these pose a risk to children who drink more than 1 box or a pouch per day. 10 of the juices pose a risk to adults, 5 of them at 4 ounces or more a day, and 5 at 8 ounces or more a day. Grape juice and juice blends had the highest average heavy metal levels. Juice brands marketed for children did not fare better or worse than other juices. Organic juices did not have lower levels of heavy metals than conventional ones.
It already gets knocked for the sugar, but now new testing from Consumer Reports found concerning levels of metals, heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, and lead in many of them. Consumer reporter Marilyn Moritz has more on the findings, the danger to children, and what parents can do.
Juice, it's what a lot of kids drink. Now this, Consumer Reports tested 45 popular fruit juices, including apple, grape, pear, and blends, and found concerning levels of heavy metals in nearly half of them, including juices marketed for children, who are particularly vulnerable to the harmful effects of heavy metals.
Persistent exposure to these heavy elements, particularly early in a child's development, can have long-standing effects throughout their lives. Their respiratory systems, their neurological systems, their immune systems are all developing. And so having those exposures early in those ages can have very profound effect.
Consumer Reports testing found 7 juices that contain enough heavy metals to potentially harm children who drink 4 ounces or more a day. An additional 9 juices they say pose risk to kids at 8 ounces or more a day. And they found 5 juice boxes they say posed a risk to children who drank more than 1 a day.
So we understand that there are a lot of foods out there that have traces of these heavy elements in them.
Now, of the juice companies that responded, most said they do their own testing and adhere to all government regulations.
If you're interested in detoxing your body of heavy metals, then you need to look into chelating or chelation, spelled C-H-E-L-A-T-I-N, chelation. And when you chelate or you use the chelation therapy, the heavy metals will be slowly removed from your body. Well, actually, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I do, and that is what I do. Also, other good alternatives is a product called Zeolite, Z-E-O-L-I-T-E. As well, you can eat fermented foods. You can also look up the product called Chlorella, C-L-O-R-H-E-L-L-A, as well as juicing green vegetables. So, for further research, heavy metals and chelation, heavy metals body removal, and heavy metals detoxification, put that in your search engine. And there also will be a download for a PDF that you can get. You can see the full-length, very in-depth article that might just save your life and the lives of your family and friends. Be sure to check the playlist area that we have here on the channel with other uploads and reports that have to do with this enormous problem of lead being prevalent in the American and the USA nationally. My name is Otis Q. Pate.